Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today I'm going to be completing the Cafe app using React. So let me not waste much time. Let me just go over what we built so far before we complete it. So I'll just share my screen real quick. Yeah, hopefully you can see my screen. All right, so basically what we were able to build last time, we were able to set up routes. Yeah, so that can route to pages within our React application. What the routing we set up is basically client-side routing, which constitutes a single page application. So instead of us sending multiple requests to the server, every time we request a page, we were able to route within our client, our browser, which is pretty fast. So we did our route JSX. We're able to set up routes to route to a home page, route to a menu for the different items, route to also able to set up dynamic routes where using parameters like IDs to route to a specific item. Yeah, so if I've already started the servers, both back end and front end, so I'll just do that demo here of what we have so far. So this is the home page. It displays the number of drinks and snacks, and then we can route to a drinks page, which lists the items by their names. And clicking on an item shows you the details of each item. This goes for the snacks as well. Okay, so that's basically what we have. And today we're just going to be adding a form that will help us create custom items and update our server, as well as update our UI. So let's get right in. This is what we have so far. So I wanted us to have a page with a form where you can create custom items. So we're going to create another route that will help us route to that page, to the form. So I'll come here in my routes. Down here, I'll just add another route. That is going to be, let's say it is new. Let's just call it new. And then the element we're going to be routing to, I'll call it item form. We need to close the route. I don't know if I'm audible enough. If I am, if not, just let me know in the comments box. Let me just increase my volume a bit, probably it will help. Yeah, so we're routing to this item form. So we need to create it, otherwise we're going to get errors. Let me just load my developer console. Yeah, at the moment, error. So how should we define it in the UI? Probably I'm going to add a link in the navbar so that we're able to add the navbar item. I'll just add a tag with a link, and this link will be going to our new route, which we named as new, and then we want it to read add item probably. Yeah, so let's see if that is actually reflecting in the UI. Actually here, so if I click on it, it says no routes match location. This is that true? We just defined a route. Let's see what could be the matter here. Route path is new, element is item form. Ideally, it should be able to get it. Let's try to refresh. Let me hide this. Hide. Okay. Let's try refreshing. Probably the server is a bit slow. Okay, there's no routes match location new. Okay. We have a route. Okay, let me first add, first of all, a route that will render for in case the route we're trying to access doesn't exist. So how do we do? We can use the wildcard, the catch all. So it will try to match all the routes up. If it can't, then it will render a 404 page, one error page. So here, let me just render an H2 that says the page does not exist. Try again. Could even name it as a 404 status code to show that it doesn't exist. So named. Okay. Now it's been able to. It's been able. Let me clear the console and refresh. So it's loading, and then now it has matched our route, and it's telling us that it's our component that is not defined. So let's go ahead and define our component. However, let's first test our 404. If I added something here, this is something we didn't add last time. Probably it will work this time round. I'm still complaining about that because so it has matches and found an error. So let's first define our component in the components folder. So it's item form.jsx. For React, the component files, to easily identify them from other JavaScript files, we use Pascal case for their names. So Pascal case is basically every word in the name starts with a capital letter. So let's quickly use a snippet to scaffold a React component, function component that is exported by default. So I just want to test my routes to see if they're working fast before we proceed. So I'll try to refresh and see if it will match my route and then give me a 404. Okay, I need to import, sorry about that, in my routes. So I'll come on Windows, I can do Control spacebar, and it will give me options of where to import it from. So if I save this, it imported it, yes. I usually love to have the CSS after everything. So I'll just do it like that. So let's save and see. If we load our page, it should probably give us a catch all. Yes, so it has matched our route and given us a catch all. All right, awesome. So if we try to click here, it renders our item form. Remember, in item, we only have this text. So let's create a form real quick. Just a recap, if you look at all our pages, we are structuring them with a main element and a div that has a class of card. So I'll follow the same structure for our form. So I'll just select div and call it main. And then here I'll have a div with a class of card. And then probably I need an H2 heading for our form. So say create your item probably. Make this lowercase. And then I'm going to have a form. I'm not submitting it to the server yet using a script. I'm going to use JavaScript to submit. So I'll remove the action thing. So I'll need, if you look at our items here, they have an ID, they have a name, they have a description, they have a recipe and a server. However, I want to generate this ID when I'm submitting the form. I don't want a user to input any ID. Remember, if you look at the IDs here, they match the name of our items. So I'll generate it using JavaScript when I'm submitting the form. However, we need 4 plus ID of form field. I need 4 simple shortcuts. So I need 5 actually. So I'll just do 1. So the first one is going to be a select item, and it's going to help us select the type, whether snacks or drinks. So I would say select for that label, and then I will do a select element. The name is going to be type. The ID is going to be type as well, and I will have 2 options in here, option elements. So I'll do 2. The first one will have value of snacks, Now the value is what is actually to the server or wherever. It's what you pick from there. So the label for this one, I'll call it snacks, what we see in the UI among the options, and this is going to be drinks. So the reason this is lowercase is because the value that we're submitting from this. And remember, what we need from here is we're going to use it to submit an API request, to make a post request to the API. So this is going to be drinks. And the second one is going to be, so I'll just say name, put of type text. So put type text, I'll give it an ID, same as my value of the HTML4. And then I'm going to give it a name. We shall see the name is important, the name property, the name attribute. Then I can give it a placeholder. I can say, for example, e.g. what snack? E.g. samosa maybe. Yeah, just to give a guide. And also I need a validation, so I'll just require it. So that's pretty much about that. The next one is going to be the description item. So I'll give it a full attribute of that, and I'll call it a description. For this way outside of our label, I'll drag it in here. And then for the description, it might be multi-line, so I'll use a text HTML element, and I'm going to give it a description name and a description ID. I also require it and give it a placeholder, so it is, and the placeholder, possibly I can just say enter item description. Okay, so the next one is gonna be a label. Label HTML4. The next one, let's say, is recipe. So it's gonna be recipe, and it might also be multi-line. Let's use the text area. So it's recipe, and the ID is recipe as well. So remember here we're writing JSX, that is HTML-like code in JavaScript. Yeah. Instructions. Yeah. Sorry, I did this. Serve instructions might also be multi-line, so I'll use the text area, give it a name property of serve and an ID property that should match my label HTML4 attribute. So the placeholder is going to be enter serve instructions. Okay. I also require it. I don't want it to be blank. Submit an empty field for that. The recipe here, I need to require it, and I also need to give it a placeholder. So I can say enter recipe. All right. So, but we need to submit our form. So we shall need a field. So I can submit a button, and in here I'm going to have an input of type submit. I'm going to give it a value. Sorry, add item. All right, so that's our form pretty much. Let's just check it out, see how it looks. Yes, we have the basic items that we need. All right, let's probably style it a bit, but first we have a warning. Use the default value of value props. Okay, we shall come to that. Okay. In React, you basically want to control the items. Yeah, so that you're able to synchronize the user input with your UI. So let's define some state, because it's the only way we can control. Okay, basically the term used for this is control components, is where React state takes control of the state of form fields. Remember, form fields have their own state. For example, here, this has its own value. If you come to the input, it has its value. Yeah, which comes from what is entered. Yeah, things like those. So we shall call this form. I'll call it, I'll do the state update set form data is equal to use state, our hook for managing state. And then I want to set this to an object of the different items. Okay. So I'll define it outside the function component so that it is not recreated every time the component renders. That wouldn't be efficient. Okay. Yeah, because the initial state won't change. React reads the initial state once, and it remembers it. So you don't need to actually recreate it. So I'll just create the constant here, and it's an object. Remember, we have a type. We want it to be by default snacks, and then we have a name. It's a string. We have a description, which is a string as well. We have recipe, which is a string as well, and instructions, which is a string. So that's pretty much it. This is going to help us when we're resetting the form, because we shall just use our initial state to reset the form its original state. So what the value it was asking for, we need to put value on each of these. So, so I'll just define a value here. It's going to be from data dot type. Remember, it comes from this form data here, which is equal to this. Yeah, so initially it will be set to those empty strings and default value of snacks for the select element. All right, let's define values for all these other things. So I'll do value here, and it's gonna be from data dot name. Just format it a little bit better. Okay. So likewise for this, the value has to be determined by the state. Remember, our scope is form data dot is gonna be a description, I think. Yeah, it's description. Next we have recipe, so we're gonna set the value as well. So it's gonna be form data dot recipe, and lastly we're gonna set the value for the subtractions. Okay. So if we checked our console, probably that warning must be gone. Let's try to reload our page and see. Still have a warning. You provided a value. Okay, so the value has changed. Okay, so it is saying we've provided a value for the form field without an on-change handler. So that's how beautiful it's telling us every time the value changes, we need to handle that. So we're going to listen for a change event on each of the input fields, and then we need to handle that event. So we're going to write a function, handle change. Remember, when you're handling events, you need the event object, which in most cases will determine the element on which the event is being listened on. Okay. So now the reason we need an event, we need to extract properties from the target element. So for example, if we're listening for element, we need to listen for the name attribute, probably the ID and the value. So I'm just going to extract the name and the value from the the target of the event, the element. So I'll just destructure them. If you don't know about destructuring, I would task you to go and check it out. So I'll destructure just these two properties that I need to update the state, and it will be from the target of the event. So once I have them, there's something called computed property syntax for objects in JavaScript. So how this works, it helps you dynamically set values, key value pairs. So how you use it is we're going to call the state set form data state update, while updating the state every time the value changes in the input, and it depends on the previous state, right? So we're going to return a new object. Remember, our state is an object, right? So we're going to return a new object. Yeah, so the new object, we're going to spread properties of the issue of the previous state we have. We use the spread operator. So if you're not conversant with the spread operator, probably you need to go and look it up. So previous state, remember our previous state has values, okay? Has these different values. So those values, now using the computed property syntax, in this comment, something else. So use these notations where we call one of these values to set a key, and then call the other to set the, if it can allow me to put it here, computed property syntax for objects, JavaScript objects. Okay. So that's how it works basically. I will ask you to go now. We need to add this handle change event handler for each element on the onChange event. So gonna be handle change. That's the select. For this, how do I do it? Since it's the same, I'm just going to do require since it's common to all. And then after require, I'm just gonna do on change because let's reload. So this is gonna be, I think, a little bit shorter. Yeah, so we don't have any warnings, thanks to React for the guidance. So I want to style the form a little bit. I'll be real quick on this. So our form is already full width. Probably I can make it a display so that it flexes according to the screen size. So I'll do flex. However, I want it to be a column, so flex direction column. I want to give the items a gap of about 16 px to separate them. Yeah, so as you can see, they're separated a little bit. So I'll just move these styles of mine. I'll probably create a style item form .css. I need to rename it to camel case. So import item form.css. Okay, so I need to define those. So if we save, we shall probably have those styles reflecting time. So I'll just do, so for each form field, I also want to display flex so that I can, doesn't change much here. I'm doing this to make the container of each input field a flex so that I can style the individual elements. So if I make it flex and I want the label to be a certain width, so I'll use the flex property. I'll set it to 1. However, I want the other input elements to be at least larger. So I'll do flex of 2. So that's why I did the parent as a flex. So let's just do those styles right here real quick. So it's form field. We need to display it as a flex container. And then we have an input, we have a select, and we have a text area. So these I want flex of 2. However, we want our label, to be flex of 1. Let's see if this actually works. Yeah, it's working. Just one more thing, button. I'll use this. I'll just do text align center for simplicity. So it's in the middle. That's our submit buttons class selector. If you can see here. So I'll just come here and do submit button. We want it to align the element to the center. And remember what we want, whatever to style is the button. So it's an input within that parent element, I can use this. What styles do I want to give it? I want it to be a certain width, so let's see. So I'll say width. Let me say maybe 50%. So the parent, I'll give it a certain height, make it a little bit bigger, maybe 32px. What else? What else? Maybe I need it to be a cursor or pointer. I need a transition. Let's say all about 5 seconds, maybe is in out. Okay, that's like an animation kind of bit. So I'll just apply them here. So when I hover, actually, let me just keep it simple. I'll just give it an opacity to make it a little bit lighter, or maybe about 0.6. And instead of applying the transition on all, I'll just apply it on the opacity. And then when I hover over it, I want the opacity to be full. Just basic styling, just like that. You see, comes a little bit down. All right, so let's just get into the logic. Okay, so we've styled our form. We've defined our state. What is left is when we submit the form. So if I come and submit the form, let's say I've entered something in here. Okay, I don't know why this is not working. It's not working because we're controlling our state. We have a warning right here. Set form data is not defined. Okay, so we have it here. However, when we call here, oh, sorry, I defined the function outside the component. Jeez, sorry about that. All right, so this should be able to work. Pardon me on that. So if I did, yeah, it selects it. So this should be able to work. Let's see. Yeah, it's now working. It's allowing us to type. Okay. Our inputs are a little bit. Let me just add a padding just to check. Let's see. This one. Which ones? The ones which have flex. Let me just give a padding of about. Maybe 10px. 10px. Because they look very small. Okay, that's a little bit better. Though it's big, but it's better. It's a little bit better. Maybe 6 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, it's a little bit moderate. Okay. So if we type something here, and maybe forgot the sub, remember I added some validation, it's gonna run straight out of the box. So if we submit, the default form submit behavior is to reload the page. Let's go ahead and handle that. So we're going to listen for a submit event on the form. So here I'll do on submit, and the form is submitted when the submit is clicked. I'm going to write custom submit event handler. So I'll define it. Function handle submit. Every time we're handling an event, we usually event object, so it's going to help us do the prevent default behavior. So this should be able to help us prevent the default. So submit and entered something. Remember here the default value in our state there. That's why I didn't require it in the HTML. So if I do this and submit, it doesn't reload, but rather it runs the code that comes after the line that prevents the default. So what we want to do here, ideally I would have done input validation, but that's maybe a subject for another day. For now, what we want to do is we want to update our server with a new item. So we're going to write a custom function in our services folder right here, and that we can reuse. So it's going to be asynchronous since we're interacting with an external resource. Let me just call it add item, and then we pass it the item that we're adding. So here we can do try catch, and then if we have no errors, what we want to do is we want to await post. We are making a post request to update resources in the server. So we're going to call the base API URL and add in a type, just like we did for the get items up there. So I need to pass it here as a parameter as well. So when you're making a post, you pass the data that you want to update the server with. So we're passing the item. All right, so probably here I want to return a message that says successfully added. So I need to put it in my string quotes. All right, let's call our custom function in our handle. So here we're gonna, since it's returning a message, we can destructure the message, and then we can await. So we need await. Our function is called add item there. We're gonna pass it an item, so we need to create that item, and then the type. All these things come the state. So we're going to destructure them. So we're going to have type, name, description, recipe, and they all come from that form data. That is our state. So remember, we can't submit a form without these values. So this will ensure that the values we get here are not empty. So the type, we're already using it. So we need to create our item type. So we're going to say item is equal to, so we need to give it an ID. So if you look at the structure of our items in the server, the ID has the name of the item. So let's so we can add some string manipulation to achieve that. I'll just do that here. So I'll use the split method. I'll split it on the, so I need to get the character. I need to turn it to lower case, and then I need to splice my name, slice it starting from index 1. Okay, so I don't need the split right now. So we shall test that it works. So we're passing the name now for JavaScript objects. If the key and the value have the same, the name without having to use the colons. So here I could do this. This is what I'm trying to mean. Name. However, it's redundant. I don't need to do that. There's a shorthand. So I'll just do description as well. I'll just do recipe. I will do serve. So I have my object created and I'm passing it to this. So let me print the message, see if I get a success. For now, message. All right, let's let's check it out. Let's try to submit something. Oh, this is not clear. So successfully added. So we could route which item we added. You can check our snacks list right here. It doesn't show in the UI. Let's check our server and see if it's there. We're looking at snacks. They are down here. And lo and behold, we have our snacks. We have our new snack here. However, it's not showing in the UI unless we reload the page. So let's try to. When you reload, it's gonna re-render the app, our page, the data. So the item is actually here. It's actually here. So how do we make sure we update our UI? At the same time, we update the server. So we're going to use the state. That's where state comes in and power React. So when we submit, let's go back to our form. When we submit our item, this message to be for another time, but probably I'll try to render it in the UI. No, I don't think I need to render it now. Okay, let's first update our page. So we need to pass set items. Remember what we render in the UI comes from items. These are arrays, drinks, and snacks. So we need to pass the state update function, this one, to our form element when we're creating the route. So we're going to pass it here, set items, and then we shall call set items as well. And then we're going to receive it as a prop in our function here. Let's go home. We're going to receive it as a prop here, items, no, set items. See, it's even telling me the prop that it needs. So coming back to our hard no submit function, we shall update it based on the previous state. And then in here, we're going to return a new state object, spread the properties of the old one, and then modify the drinks array. If you look at our state here, it's an object that has a drinks array and a snacks array. That is what we're actually modifying so that our app can re-render, actually reflect our items in the UI. So for drinks, we're going to check if the type, we're going to use this ternary operator. It's a bit cleaner. Otherwise, we'll drop this in a function and just call the function here. So if the type is actually drinks that the user selects, then we update the drinks accordingly. So how are we going to update them? We're going to use the spread operator again. It's cleaner. So previous state, we're going to pick our array, and then remember this returns a new array with the old array's elements included. It flattens the old array, returns the values of it. So we want to add the item at the end of that array. But if it's not that, then we want to return the previous state keys, okay, to avoid errors. So I'll just duplicate this for snacks. So I'll just select the drinks in multiple places and just change that to snacks. All right, let me format it a little bit better using Prettier. Yeah, so that's a little bit better. So let's just try it again and see. I'll just take an item we have. So we have a nice loading screen and then the item. So we still have 3 snacks. So I'll just add a snack. So I'll just call it Samosa. And just enter grab graph now. Then add item. Well, there's nothing successfully added. All right, that's nice. So we can show this message in here. We shall see how to do that. So what we need to check, sorry, I need to check my UI. So remember it was snacks. Lo and behold, we have our samosa. The UI has updated it. So that's beautiful, okay? The beauty of React. Yeah, and this, the character at first is lowercase. All right, that's awesome. What do we need to do? So we're able to submit to the server. Actually, if we get our server file, we actually have our item right here. I can create a drink just to illustrate that it's working. select a drink here. Maybe I'll call it Minute Maid. Made. Description, recipes, factory made. Sorry. All right. Items. Then I went to drinks. I have my Minute Maid in my UI. However, if you look at the ID, it has a space and it's represented with a percentage 20. We don't want that. So let's add some manipulation to the ID bit. Here, I could do curly braces here and then split the new string space and then join it using that dash. So let me take this drink out and recreate it. All right, so let me recreate it real quick. Drink, Minute Maid. Create it, successfully added, and if we went to the drinks page, sorry, drinks page, and then we went to Minute Maid. Yeah, we have an underscore, lo and behold. All right, so that is basic string manipulation. However, you can actually improve on this and make it a bit better. All right, but I'll leave it at that. You can even put this in a utility function. Yeah, so we're able to handle, this is how you handle state in React, form state. Yeah, so usually when you're updating the back end, you also have to update the front end, the UI. Yeah, that's a key takeaway there. Yeah, so we're using controlled components. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So let's try to, just for fun, our message here. Let's actually render it in the UI. So I'll create a new state here. Constant, function, use state. So might be an empty string at the beginning. So I'll check, I want to only render it if it actually has content. So I'll check if my notice, state notice dot length is greater than 0. And if it is, probably I want to render a tag with the notice. Okay, so if we checked our UI, we won't have any notice. We're rendering it in the form. However, how I could do it is I could render it outside the form. Yeah, let me render it outside the form. So it means I will have to move the state outside here. So I'll render it here. Yeah, I'll render it here. I'm going to create new state here. It's constant notice, set notice, user state, and it's an empty string. Okay. And then I'm going to render it in here, just below the navbar, before our routes. So if the length is greater than 0, render the notice. All right, so we'll pass the state update function to our form so that it can update the notice every time the form is submitted. So set notice is equal to set notice. I'm trying to format it a little bit better. So here we're going to receive another prop called set notice. Set. So let's call it, when we submit our form, here instead of doing the message, let's say set Okay, the app is actually breaking notice to the message. Okay, it's not now. Let's see. State notice has already been declared. Okay, remember we defined our state here. Sorry about my slow network. Bit of a nag. So I'm gonna say samosa probably one. Sorry about that. Samosa. Please. So if I did create an item successfully, I would expect successfully added here. So that's pretty beautiful. Let me just add a simple styling for it. I'll just call it dot notice. I'll give it a class of notice. I'll give it a color. I want it to be centered. So text center. I want to give it a background color of green. Yeah, and the color of probably some dark shades of black. Dark. It's a little bit black. Let me just make it a little bit bolder. Font weight of about 600. So we shall see how that works. See if it's still there. Still there. However, does it have the styling? I haven't applied the p tag. So I'll come here and apply the class. So remember, we are rendering it. We're rendering it where? Here. So class name is equal to notice. So if it doesn't reload, we shall probably see the styles in action. Yeah, so it's there. Okay, so could give it a name just to make it a little bit clearer and a margin top. So margin, I'm gonna give it a margin of top, maybe about 12 px. Just set the rest to 0. And adding top and bottom. I'm gonna top and bottom. Then I don't need right and left. Let's see if that is a little bit clearer. Yeah. So I want it to float a little bit like that. I could make the color white. White. Yeah, a little bit clearer. Text shadow of probably 0 px, 3px, 1px, a shade of black. Take effect. Okay, I'll just leave the styling to there. This is invalid. Okay, I don't think I'm setting it well. I won't go into the details, but it doesn't look bad for starters. Okay, it's staying forever. So let's just time it. Let's only show it for about a second or so. The way I'm thinking of doing this is running a use effect based on the notice. So I'll just use an effect. I'm kind of like running a side effect because I'm going to call an API of the browser, set timeout. So use effect actually is appropriate here because it's used to run side effects. So what I want to do is I want to set a timeout, okay? And I want it to run for just, let's try for 1 second and see if that is appropriate. So what do I want to do? I want to remove my API. And remember, I'm only rendering it when its length is greater than 0. So I can remove it by setting its length back to 0, an empty link. So if I did this, probably it should work after 1 second. And I want this to depend on the length of the notice. So here we shall have to recreate an item. So I can say samosa to read. I can put in a description right here. And another and the serve instructions. I add the item. Oh, it's already gone off. 1 second is really quick. So let me just first remove my, oh, sorry about that shortcut. I'll just use 4. See, it shows and goes out. That's nice. What we want to do is clear the form when we have submitted the elements. So get form data to the initial state. Route our users to the page that they have, to the listing of the items they have added. So I just have, and then I will add in the type. Okay. So when you want to navigate a user from to a different page, you use a hook called use navigate from React Router DOM. So I'll just name it navigate, and it's gonna be use navigate. Yeah, it's from React Router DOM. So the message is you just pass it the route that you want it to route to. So once we have submitted our form, we want to route to the item list page of the item that they have created. So we're going to say get, and if you hover it, it's asking you for the option, wherever you want to. So it's called the part of. So I created samosa 5. So blah, blah, blah. So if I click add item, I get my thing and I'm routed to the page. Yeah. So guys, that's it for now. For the next one, we're going to application. We're going to see how to test React components and probably how it all comes together. So thank you everyone for watching the video. If you like it, please hit the like button. And I would also urge you to subscribe to the ADHAS channel. Yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.